Mahendra Negi is CFO of Trend Micro and joins us from Tokyo today. Mahendra, let's get the numbers out of the way first of all. They're not really kind of telling because you bring a whole year in. It doesn't really tell you what the momentum was. The last quarter was a little better than the full year results, right? With core income ahead a couple percent?
Yes, that's right. The exchange rate had gone against us in the first half of the year. Now it has stabilized somewhat. So the last quarter is a better representative of how the business is doing. I think you also mentioned that for the first quarter this year, we are forecasting a drop in net income, but we are forecasting top-line growth. The drop in the net income is because some additional investments we will continue to make in what we call security for the cloud infrastructure.
Yeah. What's really going on out there in the virus space, in the Trojan space, in the malware space? I mean, you know, I've got a program. I haven't really had to do anything with it because it automatically updates, and when it blocks something, it just flashes red and tells me it's been either quarantined or denied access, and I just go merrily on. I haven't really noticed anything specific. I run the scans, and I seem to be okay. It seems to have moved beyond those nerds doing the hacking and writing the malware and onto allegations about governments actually hacking into world-famous websites. I think you know what I'm getting at here, Mahendra.
Well, firstly, the tools available to hackers have become a lot more sophisticated. It's like the physical arms industry. Making the tools is not illegal. There are companies which make and sell those tools. That's a commercial, profitable business. So when you say that nothing is going on, it's quite likely that something is going on, you just don't notice that. And that is the biggest problem right now. If you look at how our industry has progressed in the last few years, 3 or 4 years ago, we were in a situation where the end users, customers would say, we don't have a problem. Then a couple of years ago, they said, well, we have a problem, but you don't have a solution. Now, actually, we have a solution. The customers just don't have the money to pay for it. So I think we have made progress, except that probably you don't see it on the top line. We'll see that in 2010.
That's a problem if your customers are cashless there, but they really love you. I introduce you as number 3. What are you going to do, Mahendra, to get yourself out of that rut? I mean, let's face it, you're in a rut right now. Number 3, what do you need to do to beat Symantec? What do you need to do to beat McAfee? You want to be number 1. I mean, that's the aspiration of all of us, is to be number 1, right?
Absolutely, except though we have to define where we want to be number 1. Symantec and McAfee, especially Symantec, they acquired very large companies like Veritas. And when you say that we are in a rut, well, we are much better off than they are. So you can be number 1 by acquiring businesses, but that's being number 1 in revenues. What we want to be is number 1 in terms of solving the customer's problem. And that's our strength. And that's why we are so much more profitable than our competitors, because the customers value what we deliver. So our definition of number 1 is a little bit different from just a revenue-driven number 1 position.
How do you? Okay, so they've been doing it through acquisitions. I mean, like you know, obviously the Norton acquisition, and then you mentioned Veritas and all that. Are you at this point trying to differentiate yourself? Is Trend Micro equal to Symantec, equal to McAfee, or do you recoil at that suggestion?
Yes, we differentiate ourselves. Symantec, we think, is providing some kind of a soups to nuts solution, including storage and everything, complete data management solution. We think that's a different pitch. Ours is we are solving your security problem. So you're very focused on the security aspect. Someone else can manage the data, and that's where we differentiate, because the hackers are always raising the bar. So if you haven't solved the core problem, which is the problem related to security, rest of it for the customer doesn't matter. They can go to an EMC or a Cisco to solve that problem.
Okay, I get it. So you don't want to be a filing cabinet. In other words, I mean, you want to concentrate on being a defense shield. You want to concentrate on protection, and you'd rather leave the storage and the moving of stuff from and the basically cloud computing stuff to somebody else. Mahendra, I know this is going to break your heart. Okay, I've known you for a long time. You're my very good friend. I know this is going to break your heart, but I'm using Avira. It's free. It updates on its own, and free antivirus, free anti-malware is becoming a bigger and bigger part of people's lexicon, because they're finding through CNET and through other ways that they can get that stuff free without having to cut you a check. Don't you? I know you're all broken up about this.
That's right, but Bernie, I'll ask you this question. If you ask your IT manager and tell him, hey, how about the company using Avira? Just hear out what he has to say. None of the corporates use the free software, so there's a reason why that is free. But yes, free software is solving some problems. That's a different market. For us, like I said, we are targeting a market where security is so critical to them that they're willing to pay for that additional protection.
Well, I hope they've got good heavy-duty protection at the company level here, Mahendra, because if there's anything questionable, I don't open it on at home. I send it to the company server, and I open it there. I'd rather screw them up instead of my own life. I think I'm probably pretty normal in that sense. Mahendra, be well, okay? We'll talk again in a quarter or so.
Thank
Mahendra
you.
Negi, CFO, Trend Micro.